I'm Ellie and welcome to the channel. In today's video, we are going to take what we learned in last week's video, the shading of the sphere, and apply it to an actual piece of art. I've chosen cherries because they share the same spherical shape and they're really fun to draw. Jumping right in, you can see that drawing cherries are not difficult. It's basically just two circles sitting next to each other with a little bit of definition. You can add in your stem and your water droplets and outline where your highlights are. Easy peasy. Next, get your values ready and the tools you'll be using to shade with. You'll also need an eraser. I got lucky and found a loose piece of smooth paper lying around, so I was happy about that. But this time I'm starting the way I usually start, and that's with the darkest value at the bottom and then softly blending it out to the lightest part. Though smooth paper, this is still not quality paper, and if I learned anything from last week's video, it's that the layering impacted the paper's ability to hold on to the graphite. And so doing it this way means just a little less layering, and I'm hoping that the graphite will stick to the paper just a little bit better. And I would be able to see the difference in values show up clearly this time. Though I will say at this stage, I could have started a little bit darker. I could have eliminated 1 or 2 layers. But in the end, spoiler, it worked out. So those extra few layers didn't really impact the paper at all. I will say this little makeup brush is the best blending tool, and it looks a lot nicer than this one. Ew. My blending stumps are old, years old. I made myself a blending stump cleaner with some sandpaper and a block of wood, which I love and am so chuffed with. So having clean tips on the blending stumps have been an easy do for me. And also, sometimes you want that leftover graphite on the blending stumps. Either way, I haven't needed to replace them. And boom, look how nicely form is starting to shape. I'm telling you, I can't get enough of this type of blending and shading. And boom again. So I was losing my line and all the shading, so I just erased a very thin edge there, but I will fill that in later. I'm using the cherries on the left side as my reference. I drew those so long ago, but I was so happy with the results, and dare I say, they're just a little bit better than the ones I drew in this video. I'm not sure what it is about those that feel just slightly better. But to be fair, it could just be the attachment I have to them, because I was so happy with how they came out. Anyway, I'm moving on to the stems now. I struggled a bit with the stems because they kept coming out crooked. But in the end, I figured it out. Couple tips. You want to have the stems right at the base where they attach to the cherries just a little bit darker to indicate just the tiniest bit of a shadow coming off of the cherries. And then starts the fun part, the details. So I'm using a precision eraser, but you can use a kneadable eraser if you have one. Kneadable erasers can be molded to very fine tips for details like this. You can also do it with a regular eraser if you use the corner very carefully. But just erase those little water droplets all over the cherries. Then take your dark pencil and put a little bit of a shadow underneath them. This is going to create that three-dimensional effect. Make it look like an actual droplet popping off of the cherry. This is a very fun process for me, very satisfying. Though I will say I do get hesitant. And then the same thing on the other side. I hesitate because I'm afraid that I might push it too far and then ruin it, and then it'll be too much. In this case, however, I feel like I could have gone a little bit further. I feel like there is not enough droplets here, especially the very, very tiny ones. But as always, we're not shooting for perfectionism. I think it came out great. And then come those outside droplets, the ones that appear to be rolling off the cherry from the side. These ones I feel like are very impactful. And again, Love doing these, very satisfying. And then it's time for the shadow, the cast shadow. I want to make mention that last week's tutorial as well as this drawing based on that tutorial is for beginners. Shading the base of the drawing the way I do is an easy concept to convey, and the way I incorporate the principles of shading most of the time. But when you go past beginner level, you start looking at things like core shadow and reflected light. Reflected light is often at the base, where I am right now telling you to shade the darkest part at the base. At a beginner level, this works, and like I say, most of the time, this is how I incorporate the principles of shading and realism. But if you are interested in shading past the beginner level, I'm going to put up some shading resources on my Ko-fi shop soon. If you're interested, you can check it out. There will be one for beginner level and one for advanced level. Anyway, here they are in all their glory. I'm happy with how it came out. I think it's pretty decent. The values are clearly defined from one section to the next. And that's it for this video. Let me know, how did yours turn out?